and sports injuries. ICT, repairs, rebuild. The power to heal, the future of pain relief.
McDowell Supplements, an effective way to ensure you and your loved ones are getting the daily recommended intake of essential vitamins, minerals, and other important nutrients necessary for optimal health. Naturally, we carry an array of health and wellness supplements. McDowell's Immune Booster enhances your body's defense to fight colds and flu, boosts your immune system, prevents viruses and other airborne diseases. McDowell's Colon Cleanser prevents constipation, helps in removing toxins from the colon, detoxifies the body, and regulates your bowel movements. McDowell's Prostate Health prevent the enlargement of the prostate, improve urinary flow, and reduce frequent urination, especially at night. Moringa oleifera capsules are rich in minerals like calcium, potassium, zinc, magnesium, iron, and copper, vitamins like beta-carotene of vitamin A, vitamin B such as folic acid, vitamin C, D, and E. McDowell's Potassium Complex, used for treating and preventing low potassium levels, high blood pressure, preventing stroke, and aid in weight loss. McDowell's Triple Magnesium relaxes the muscles, relieves cramps and helps to control high blood pressure, improves sleep, and can calm the nerves. Magnesium is very important for the normal functioning of cells, nerves, muscles, bones, and the heart. McDowell's Ginger Turmeric helps to relieve pain, decrease nausea and enhance the immune function to help protect against illness and infection. Ginger turmeric has powerful anti-inflammatory properties and improves your circulation. Don't hold health back. Let health strike back. McDowell's, the better way to start your health. Visit Health Service Center, John Compton Highway. Call 453-6417. Let your wellness be our stress.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with big issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
Another wonderful Thursday afternoon to you, everyone. Welcome once again to The Real Issues with me, Shelton Daniel. It's our final program for the week. And today is the third day of... Is the second? Second? You sure of that? Okay, yeah. Okay, Wednesday was the first. So it looks like the dementia is coming back, you know. You see, because nobody made me eat the poisson avoué yesterday, I probably forgot that. But yes, it is the second day, 3 days away from Easter Sunday, which is this coming Sunday, 2nd of April 2026, Holy Thursday. And it's our last program for the week because tomorrow, Friday, the 3rd, is going to be Good Friday. And then there will be Saturday the 4th, Holy Saturday, and then Sunday, Easter Sunday. It's going to be our final program before Tuesday of next week because Monday, the 6th, is Easter Monday, and that too is a public holiday, so we won't be having a program then. So make the most and the best of today's program because we'll be apart. We won't be together for another 4 days. Our program, as you know, airs weekdays, meaning holidays and weekends excepted, from 12:30 until 2 p.m. on the radio station that's called Real FM, serving you on the frequencies of 91.3 megahertz for the northern part of St. Lucia and 91.5 for the south. We simulcast on NBC television because we're all part of the McDowell Broadcasting Corporation. And NBC is available on channel 120, Flow Cable TV service. We're also available on Facebook Live and YouTube live streaming. All cylinders are firing these days. The YouTube is on, the Facebook is on, and the phone lines seem to be working quite well, okay? Both our landline and our WhatsApp calling line. I hope your preparations for the Easter weekend are well advanced and that you have, it's a good thing to plan, to decide what you're going to do, where you're going to go, so that you know what route you are going to take, so that you don't go somewhere and you're thumping on your steering wheel and cussing because, there's congestion and there's some blockage somewhere along the route and you can't get where you are going to for things to flow very smoothly, etc., etc. So it's a good thing to plan. To watch out for the various bulletins and to read the news to see whether, some work is going to be carried out on Saturday in that area, roadworks or whatever it is. Do that. It often helps quite a lot. And I want to again plead with you for the umpteenth time, play your part in achieving, in bringing about the things that you like to see, and in preventing, in essentially preempting, keeping off the things that you don't like littering and garbage and that sort of thing. Don't drop it in the sea while people, yourself included, are going in for a swim and you have to be dealing with some wrapper or something floating on the water. It's very off-putting. Contribute, take the lead, play your part in making this country a better place. I'm not going to say making it great again, like these people who don't understand greatness or what greatness means. They always have to be going and mess about with somebody. But before I get to that, I happened to be on the road early this morning, by which I mean maybe around 5 a.m. And I was in the area of Vidbutey, going to take that last corner, left turn before you reach the Castries Comprehensive School. There used to be a church there in times past. I think I haven't even, sometimes, things don't really register with me. And there I saw a lady on the sidewalk. She was on her feet with her bag by her side, dressed up in a manner which suggests somebody who's going to work. Maybe she's working at one of the nearby hotels. It's within walking distance, depending on where you're coming through. So I figured, who knows? She might be working at the Sandals Halcyon. She might be working at the Geopolitics Mall, and it looks like whatever, she was on her way to somewhere. But then I realized that she had stopped and she was looking at the ground to her feet, and then I noticed that there was someone lying on the sidewalk, on the concrete pavement, sidewalk that is there at that point. And I slowed down. I just barely heard her say, you cannot stay there. You have to get up from there. You could see the man was making an effort to try to get up. But it was like, I don't know whether he was drunk or something else was wrong, but it looked like, he was struggling and he could not comply with her instructions. And I kind of slowed down, just barely lifted my foot off the accelerator. I wasn't going fast to begin with. And then I said, wow, what's going on there? That a lady has to be. And then I drove on because you don't want to stop there, especially the sudden stop. And then next thing somebody comes racing along who has a completely different mindset to you and then slams into your back and creates a whole, disaster around that corner there and so on. Because often I find people drive on the road as if they do not expect that there will be another vehicle, as if other vehicles on the road are something that is the furthest from their mind. And I keep saying, you on the road. Why you feel nobody else can be on the road, that you're driving as if the road belongs to you, as if anybody else and so on. So I decided, hey, guy, move from there. Just move from there. But, something kept troubling me about it. When I reached the Sunny Acres roundabout, I was going to make the turn there, but for some reason I kept on driving. I said, hey, you need to go back and look at what is happening, what really is there. I drove back, and the man was still lying there. The lady apparently had moved on, but the man was still lying flat on that sidewalk, in the northbound outer lane, the sidewalk to that lane. I even remember like his top, his shirt, whatever, or t-shirt was red, and the trousers were dark colored and so on. But then I said, if it had been something, that lady would probably have raised the alarm if he would look dead or he was dying or something. So probably a guy was drunk and it was the only place he could catch a sleep or whatever. That's as far as he could take himself. But I kept wondering, where the guy is there, the sidewalk ain't too wide. What if he rolls in his sleep, as we tend to roll, and then he ends up on the road, the motoring road surface, and somebody coming around that corner as I have said, with some speed, and by the time they might have time to stop or something, they run over the guy. But he seemed to be comfortable. I haven't heard anything to the contrary. I kind of wonder whether I myself should have made a call, but I said that lady who tended to him, she may have, informed somebody. It seemed a brave thing for her to do because it was still dark. The street lights and so on were very much on and needed at that point. And I said to myself, this is a brave thing for this lady to do. She's not only brave, she's very kind to stop to look after somebody that is lying on the road, because you never know what can happen. Sometimes people can pretend. Sometimes they're not pretending. They're in a slumber and then they feel somebody touch them. They don't know where they are. They don't remember where they are. They're not aware. And they believe it's somebody attacking them, and they just jump up and, maybe start to fight with the person, and because it's somebody doing them something. Because if you're drunk or you went to sleep drunk and so on, your head probably not good in that stage at all. And it may surprise you in the mold of no good deed ever goes unpunished, that you reach out to touch to see if the person is moving, whatever, and the person believes that they're being attacked. And then, they might strike back at you in any number of ways. So that lady, I don't know you, but if you are listening and you hear it, congratulations for still having a heart, which may have meant that you are a kind person, that you are a brave person. However, still be careful. In such situations, they often do not turn out in a manner that is commensurate with the good heart that you show. There is a principle, I don't know if it's a principle, if it's a law, that when we wield great power, unless it is a situation that is absolutely unavoidable, we can't do anything otherwise or different, that we should try to exercise that power in a compassionate and benevolent way. We have to try to exercise the power in a compassionate and in a benevolent way. And not just power, wealth. I remember reading many years ago some books that my friend Robert Lee had shared with me that were written by a very solid philosopher, except that his philosophy was founded on strongly Christian principles. He was not an evolutionist and an atheistic philosopher like we find so many of them, especially in Europe. A man called Francis Schaeffer. And he said one of the criticisms he has about the Europe where he's from, I think he was a Swiss. He was from Switzerland. Yeah, that one of the things that he had a serious problem was that they did not seem to understand the need for the compassionate use of accumulated wealth. And although he didn't say that in the book, what was the book? How Then Shall We Live, or something of that kind, I can't remember. Was that the whole history of a lot of those European nations which had a colonial history about them was to be extractive, to go to Africa, and it was all about what they could take from Africa, what they could, even the people, to use them as free labor, slave labor, be very unkind and harsh and brutal to them and drive them to the maximum on very meager rations of food and clothing, whatever, whip on their backs like they were not human beings and so on. And then, to take their timber and to take their gold and to take their metals, and this has continued even to this day, even though they try to put a better face on it. It's all about the uranium, it's all about the oil, when this guy who's now, president of the United States, remember before he fell out with Elon Musk, it was always about rare earths. When he and Elon fell out, apparently the impetus, the drive, the shofma, the incitement that Elon was providing, because the aerospace industry in which Elon Musk is a big player, they need a lot of those rare earth minerals or rare earth metals, whatever. It was your rare earths. It seems to have died and now a little died down, and it has reverted. It was, Ukraine, we're going to help you to fight Russia, but you got to sign an agreement with us, make a deal with us so that we can get your rare earths. And Canada, we want to annex Canada because we know they have a lot of untapped rare earths. And Greenland, we want Greenland because there's a lot of rare earths. And now rare earths has become oil, It's old news. Oil, it's so old hat. America has been, saying it is fighting empires, whether they be Japan, whether they be Britain, which it was a colony of Britain at one time, that it wanted to throw off empire. It thought the Spanish-American Wars, because it felt that having, gained its independence and sovereignty from one, empire, Britain and so on, that Spain was wielding too much power, too much control in the Americas, Spain was owning just about everywhere, including, Puerto Rico and this and that, and, it took, I think, some USVI from Denmark and so on. So this wanted to take something from Denmark in the form of Greenland. It didn't exactly knew. All of the reasons then were kind of different. And even up to now, when you look at Latin America, it is absolutely mind-boggling the amount of land and space and countries that Spain once ruled and took and so on. So they fought against them for empire. But right now, America is behaving more empire, It's acting more empire than any of the so many wars that it fought against empires, whether they be Japan, whether they be the German Empire, in the First World War, there was still a German Empire, whether it be the British, the Spanish, or whatever, America fought against empire. And it looked like America was against empire. America would fight wars, but America would never stay and occupy and annex everywhere. They might have a long-term occupation, as I think they might have had in Cuba, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, some places and so on. But America generally portrayed itself as being anti-empire. We're not going to annex any place and say, okay, this is now part of the United States. That's behind us and so on. And we don't want anybody to come and acquire territory by force. I remember George Herbert Walker Bush, the elder Bush, George H.W. Bush. His son was called George W. Bush. They didn't have the H in it. The George Bush, who was vice president to Ronald Reagan and subsequently won, the 1988 elections. So he was inaugurated in January 1989. One thing he kept repeating in his inauguration speech and so on, that he wants to see a kinder and gentler United States. And he kept saying that, he'll be working towards a kinder and gentler United States. And I didn't understand what that meant, because it wasn't long after that the first Gulf War, Iraq had invaded Kuwait and so on. But you see the difference between this president, the George Bush, now deceased, of course, was that he saw the need, even as the world's number one greatest, many said the sole superpower, because the Soviet Union was in the throes of crumbling and dissolving and dismantling, whatever and so on. So America seemed to be the last man standing in the superpower world stage and game and so on. And Bush kept saying that and making that America, when it went to war against Iraq, even though it was clear that America could have swatted Iraq like a fly, but America was careful. The America under Bush, who was a lawyer, who I think was a genuinely intelligent guy, a Republican, they have their own ways about them and the hawkish people and so on. Dick Cheney at the time, I think, was defense secretary, who later became his son's vice president, the younger Bush's vice president. There was a guy called Caspar Weinberger. There was a secretary of state called George Shultz, and a whole parade of those right-wing neocons and these sorts of people. They were already there. I can't remember Rumsfeld, if he was part of that setup and so on, but the usual suspects, as you say. The chief of Central Command was a guy who subsequently died, called General H. Norman Schwarzkopf or something like that. Sounds very German to me, though, but a lot of Germans in America or people of German descent doesn't say anything. There were a lot of them. But Bush was careful. Bush was a lawyer. And he's a lawyer who had also served as the director of the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency. I don't think they put any stupid people or anyone who people can regard as anybody's fool, any kind of moron, anybody who's subpar in terms of the upstairs that they may have, to be director of CIA. Until now, of course. I don't understand what are the qualifications for CIA, but I can't talk too much about CIA. The Gabbard woman may be great. But this Kash Patel guy as head of FBI and so on, you listen to those fellas, including what's his name, Hegseth, the man who is, the cabinet member in charge of the world's most powerful, most resource, most whatever military and all of that. Sometimes you ask yourself, like attracts like. And if a man is himself deficient up there, he probably will choose people to be his cabinet members who are also even more deficient than he is, because he wants to have that sense of being in control of them, being, the one who can give them orders that they will take, that they can't challenge or argue with him and so on. It probably is the reason for that. But George Herbert Walker Bush, I think he was the 41st president, so he used to be referred to pretty affectionately across America as 41. When they said 41, they meant George H.W. Bush, the 41st president and so on. He went into that Iraq war and he was careful to build an international coalition. In other words, of people who were willing to come and to see. And for weeks, he was always on the radio, that Saddam Hussein is being given a chance now to withdraw from Kuwait unconditionally and to get out, because he is facing forces that they don't think he understands. And if he knew the forces that are ranged against him, and United Nations was behind Bush, even people that were traditionally enemies of America joined the coalition because they felt that what Saddam had done against another Arab country was just bad. So Saudi Arabia and all the Gulf states, but interestingly, Bush was able to use his diplomatic political skills to negotiate that even Syria, which is ruled by the same Ba'ath Party, a very large organization, transnational, but the Baathists were ruling in Syria under Hafez al-Assad, who had fought or led Syria into at least 3 wars against Israel. Syria joined that coalition. For all the hatred against America, for the Golan Heights, whatever that Israel had seized from them, Hafez al-Assad joined that 1990-1991 coalition to go and to push Iraq out of. He contributed 20,000 specialist troops, paratroopers. That's the guys who jump from planes in parachutes behind enemy lines to go and secure points. So before you know a war has started, those guys have silently come upon you, cutting off your communication, sabotaging your rails and so on, because they had had a lot of experience in that, in the wars that they had fought. So among the first wave of people were people from Syria. I think one condition that all those countries made, those Arab countries, Israel must play no part in that war. Saddam Hussein hit Israel with at least 2 Scud missiles and so on. And basically Syria and all of them said Israel should not retaliate. The moment Israel gets in and sends planes, Israel had its plane fueled up to go and bomb whatever it was. And America told Israel, stand down, we will deal with this. Because the moment the coalition would have fragmented. So this man called George H.W. Bush, the former vice president who became president, former head of CIA, all of that, he had some smarts about him. He knew that if you want to go into something against Iran, it may not even be wise, but if you want to get the Arab states falling behind you and so on, the worst thing you can do is to go into it shoulder to shoulder with Israel. Because they will see that you're partnering with an enemy against another enemy. Don't think the Saudi Arabia and all of them, they're happy, with what's happening there. It cannot be. If you had told Saudi Arabia, come with me, whatever, and have been easier. The mere fact that it is Israel partnering with America, going against another Islamic state, albeit one that the Arabs don't like, because I think I've told you before, if there is one thing the Jews and the Arabs, the Israelis, and all the Saudis and the Arabian states fear and hate more than each other, it is the Persians. So they don't like them. But you see, this thing with Israel, that shows a man who does not have any kind of smarts about him. And I do remember the George W. Bush talking about wanting America to be a place that leads enlightenment. And while a lot of people had their doubts, but he caused a closing of ranks against Saddam Hussein even. And he understood the need to go to the United Nations to give a legal cover to the entire Operation Desert Storm, I think they called it at the time, and so on. And there was that sense of international legitimacy. Not this guy, who's there now. Not this guy. Everything there is about scorched earth for him. Everything is about, we have a powerful military. So you go in, and as far as you're concerned, we have the most powerful military, until you realize, powerful military. But the reality is that you have to deal with, sometimes they can cause even the power of your military to be blunted. And so now he's cussing off Britain, he's cussing off this place, he's cussing off this ally, because they didn't rush in and join in to come. Even allies, if they wanted to, they have to be careful. You don't just go and send ships and forces there, and next thing, friendly fire, missiles from the people who are supposed to be aligned with you get misfired, some miscommunication, and next thing you know, some missile from Israel is hitting a British ship, or British thing is hitting some of the Arab partners, a whole magic that. So they don't want to go there. And I was shocked, when I heard Keir Starmer, the way he's been talking lately. This is not our war. And the president of America, the whole chaos that he's caused. I said, what? The British? I sometimes have to be careful with those things, because if now with AI, they can make you believe that something is being said by somebody, and it's some other person that it is being simulated and so on. And this is the mess that the world finds itself in. And you wonder how long before something even more precipitous breaks out. Philip Joseph Pierre, congratulations to you for leading St. Lucia with a level head in very challenging times, not overplaying your hand, overextending your neck, recognizing the limitations of small states such as yours, and working within the frameworks of cooperation that still exist, such as the OECS, the CARICOM, the OAS, the United Nations, working within those frameworks for the good and safety and preservation of your people and your country, because this is not a time to be grandstanding. Real issues. We take our first break. We'll be back shortly.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
The wait is over. You've rested. And now it's time to put on those dancing shoes once again. This is the Sunday, April 5th. It's time to roll out and have a ball. Upstairs the Castries Market. We're gonna have a massive celebration as we party up inside to the best in country and western music. Doors open from 8 p.m. Admission $10. Your musical selectors for the evening: the Country Master, DJ Tallboy, DJ Dynamics, St. Lucia's #1 country and western DJ Tim Tom, and the entertainer, DJ Leroy. All powered by Entertainer Sounds. Prizes to be won and so much more. Come be part of the entertainment and vibe. This is the Sunday, April 5th. It's all going down upstairs the Castries Market. Be part of it.
Why are you suffering from aches, pains, and illnesses? When there's help for you. At Health Service Center, we offer a wide range of treatment that has been scientifically proven to help you with your aches, pains, and illnesses. Our ICT machine is one of the most effective devices in the health field. It has shown positive results in many health problems, such as back pains, shoulder pains, migraine headaches, pain in the knees and legs, poor circulation, arthritis, diabetic neuropathy, numbness in the feet, strokes and sports injuries. ICT, repairs, rebuild. The power to heal, the future of pain relief.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
Thank you for staying with The Real Issues on Real FM Radio, NBC Television, Facebook, and YouTube live streaming on this Thursday, the 2nd of April 2026. I'm Shelton Daniel alongside our technical man, Alton Jaquan Joseph. And this is our closing program for Holy Week. And we'll be back on Tuesday, which is the 7th of April 2026. Now, coming back to the theme about the compassionate use of power, including military power. You know, nowhere in the behavior of former presidents have I found that you extend, maybe not an olive branch, but you say to somebody, look, if you don't withdraw from this place or don't do this, we are going to forcefully remove you, we are going to attack you, we are going to, at the time, what did I think? James Baker testifying before the U.S. Congress about the buildup of U.S. forces in the Middle East to counter Iraq and to push them out of Kuwait, said, you know, any attack by the United States against Iraq will not be any long drawn out affair. It will be sudden, massive, and decisive, you know. At the time, the U.S. Vice President was a rather innocuous, almost comical guy called Dan Quayle. Visited the U.S. forces ahead of, you know, the initiation of things, and he said, you know, gave a speech to them and said, this will not be another Vietnam. It will be sudden, massive, decisive. And people say, hey, this silly guy, you know, just parroting what James Baker said. That's if he understands any of those words. But the reality is that Baker actually met. Is he still alive? I don't even know. James Baker actually met with the then Iraqi foreign minister who later became deputy prime minister, a guy called Tariq Aziz. They had talks in a certain hotel. And they couldn't come to an agreement. You know, Baker gave Aziz a letter to deliver to Saddam Hussein. And Aziz said he opened the letter. And when he opened it, he gave it back to Baker. He said, I will not accept this letter. And I will not deliver that to my president. That is an insult. It is disrespectful and whatever. I don't think the actual words in the letter were ever disclosed. And they were supposed to have had a joint press conference after their meeting in that hotel in Iraq. I think it was the Al Rashid Hotel or something that they called it. And I think Tariq Aziz refused to come and to sit together with Baker to have the joint press conference. Baker came down first and he spoke. And he said, well, you can ask him. He's going to come down in a while and so on. And after Aziz came, Aziz spoke and he said, you know, Iraq is not going to be bullied and Iraq will not initiate a war, but if a war is unleashed upon it and this sort of thing. I never heard anything about any president inviting people to talks and actually scheduling the talks and said, okay, we're going to talk in order to have this thing, to see if we can resolve this thing without war. And while the talks are pending and they have been scheduled, you're attacking the people. And this happened twice. So now we're hearing about, he's saying how Iran has been begging for talks. Iran wants to have talks, whatever, there'll be talks. This thing will end. But at the same time, he's saying we'll obliterate them. We'll bomb them back to the Stone Age, which was something I heard used, you know, in Afghanistan and this sort of thing. You know, it's threats. You're continuing to attack them, but you're asking for talks. You're asking for some kind of thing. The Iranians, to me, that is embarrassing that they're saying, hell no, they've never agreed to any talks. They don't want to have any talks because they know they've been punked on that thing twice before. But this is what we are seeing, the example in the world of the non-compassionate, you know, non-reasonable or moderate use of military power. Is that I have the power and I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it anytime, anywhere. So you kidnap a president of Venezuela. And I had to, when I heard this thing about he was captured. What capture? There was no declared state of war between the two countries, anything. You just go, you use your superior forces and technology, and you just go and you just, you know, seize a man in his own country, in his own office, whatever, he and his wife, you know, and just take them off to another country like you're the king of Babylon, you Nebuchadnezzar in the 21st century. So you come and you seize, you know, a rebellious king or whatever, and you take him away by the rivers of Babylon. This is the same area where Babylon is, you know. It's the same area. A lot of people say all those people are putting themselves in trouble when they go and mess about with these ancient, pagan historical cities and sites and so on. That Saddam Hussein, supposed to be a Muslim and a man committed to the Islamic modernity and so on, goes and is engaged in a restoration of Babylon, to try to turn it into a tourist attraction. That he was doomed from that day, is what some writer put, and likewise, they said the last Shah of Iran go in and pray at the tomb of King Cyrus, which is the king who defeated Babylon, set the Jewish captives free, Cyrus of Persia, and Shah Reza Mohammed Pahlavi went and knelt at the tomb of King Cyrus the Great, an ancient pagan king, thousands of years. You're supposed to be a Muslim. You're supposed to be a man in the ways of Islam. He went and knelt and prayed at the tomb of. So they said, this is it. He had doomed himself. So I don't know who's dooming themselves right now and doing what. I don't know. All this Zionistic kind of thinking that this is the Israel of the Bible and this is the place of there's no temple, there's no priesthood, there's no, this is a country that all the ways of the modern world with all its vices, they are legalized and so on. This is not a monarchy, this is a republic that has a president and a prime minister and this kind of thing. But I don't know. You can't take that out of theirs. And so whatever they do, how many people they kill, they're right, man, because they're the people of God, and the Bible said that they'll possess the gates of their enemies, and if you believe in God, you stand by Israel no matter what they do, and so people will go to Israel so they can stay at the King David Hotel. And I think those Jews and Israelis and Zionists are playing on their heads with all this kind of nonsense, violence to the extreme, kill children, kill whatever. Nobody's supposed to criticize that thing. And so there's absolutely no you wanted to overthrow them because they had a brutal crackdown on their own people where they killed so many of their own people. But then you bomb their country. You're bombing a school, kill how many young girls in the school. You're bombing hospitals. You're bombing the city of Tehran. You're going to tell me it's only soldiers you're killing. So when they were murdering their own people, that was to be condemned. But you can go now and murder them. Up to now, tell us what the people have done here. You went into a war against them to prevent them from getting a nuclear weapon. It wasn't long before, last year, you went and you bombed them. You said you had these deep bombs that penetrated into underground thing. How do you call them? Massive ordnance penetrators. Each one weighing what? 10,000 or 30,000 pounds. And it went down and it was, that's his favorite word, obliterated. But now you're going back and you're doing the people. And who will be next? Because my own calculation is that Trump is on a rampage to control the world's oil supplies so that he can starve China of oil, because China is his obsession. So he will corral the oil in Venezuela, that he'll decide who it's sold to, who it's not sold to, so China will no longer be getting oil supplies from there, neither will Cuba. He will go and he will corral the oil in the one country that's standing up to the United States, which is Iran. So then China, we get a good amount of oil from there, but so do so many other places. So they are not going to be getting oil, And then by that he hopes that he can squeeze China into submission. But doesn't that leave Russia, which has almost unlimited oil supplies and so on? We talk about Venezuela having proven reserves and this kind of thing. Russia probably has the world's largest reserves of oil, unproven or unproven. They're probably not even bothering to explore in this place. And this is a vast country, This is a mind-bogglingly vast country that has, to me, an infinite supply of resources of all kinds, whether it's oil, whether it's minerals, whether it's timber, whether it's thing. The Russians have it and so on. What you're going to do now? You're going to make Russia more powerful. Because now they will be the lifeline to China, and they're not going to stop because they need the money, they need the foreign exchange, they need this sort of thing. It's a whole crazy thing I have never seen before or heard of before. Of a man who threatens allies with annexation, threatens Canada, threatens Denmark, threatens Norway for not giving him a Nobel Prize and this and that and the other and so on. That this man is going and he's doing all over the place. How can it end well? Apparently the power of the United States military has gone to Trump's head and to Hexef's head to the exclusion of everything else. Where shall we fit into this arrangement is not something we can take our minds off. No, we should not lose sleep and worry endlessly over it and get stressed out over it. But my goodness me, this is just looking so absolutely crazy. This United States that George H.W. Bush said he wanted to see kinder and gentler, I don't think he would recognize this United States. It would absolutely freak him out to see it like that. And to see America is looking for where it can cut off aid to all persons, dismantling U.S. aid, cutting off this, putting visa, blocking people from coming there. We do not even see the compassionate use of accumulated wealth. And for a country that said it fought against empire to be premising it's making itself great again, I don't know when it was never great, by directly going and plundering other people's country, taking over and openly saying, at one time it was the nuclear thing, at one time it was freedom for the people of Iran, but now, of course, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth doth speak. It must speak. Right now, the man is openly saying, as he said in the case of Venezuela, is the oil of Iran he wants. We want to control the oil. We will take the oil. Who wants oil? Go and take it now. Straight off or moose, whatever it is. You know, did you ever think you would hear that kind of empire thinking coming from a 21st century United States of America? You know, we will seize them and we'll take their oil openly like that. I mean, our United States of America, and nobody seems to be able to decisively stop that man. It looks to me, the way the Constitution is set up and being literally read, that if tomorrow Trump gets pissed off with Keir Starmer or Denmark, whatever, and he were to order some strike, nuclear or not, on Britain and so on, that American commanders, they'll go and they'll do it. Rather than resign, rather than say, Mr. President, you know, I take that I can be jailed or even executed, whatever, for treason or whatever the charge will be, insubordination, but I won't do it. I will not communicate that order down the line for you to go and bomb London. You know, it doesn't seem like the American, if he tells them to go and bomb, they'll do it, you know. They'll do it on the grounds that they're just following orders. Well, wasn't that the same thing that those German commanders who unleashed, you know, the most terrifying form of violence and brutality on other nations said about each other? Wasn't that exactly the same thing about treaties and so on that they were supposed to recognize? But then even the Germans seem to have had more honor for allies and agreements and so on, except the Soviet Union, which people always believe was a joke and so on. But Trump, it looks like the man is prepared to turn on even the closest allies. Who would have thought that the United States and Britain will be talking to each other like that? That Keir Starmer, you know, and Donald Trump would be having those kinds of exchanges. The Australian Prime Minister, who else, everywhere over there, is like the man has absolutely no regard whatever for the Council of Allies, for the consequences to allies, what will become them. So you think he'll have any concern for us, the tiny islands? Does Kamla Prasad Bissessa really believe that Donald Trump earnestly and fervently cares about her and Trinidad and Tobago? Do they really believe that? The way he's behaving everywhere, all that is obsessing his mind is the power that he has in his mind. We have to conduct our politics and our diplomacy better. We have to stop showing contempt for what is our own. And I believe the Prime Minister of Trinidad, you know, we haven't heard much from the new Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I would like to believe that this is because he's a more level-headed, more considered person. For now, I would like to believe that. But how about for the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago? She doesn't see the wood for the trees. She doesn't perceive the things that differ and to see the nuances. And this one is not nuance, you know. This one is blatant. It is so glaring. It is happening. Where is it going to end? We have to raise our voices. But let me say something finally. The people of the United States of America, they have to take responsibility for what's happening. They have to take the blame for what's happening. This thing about the Constitution is like we helpless. The president, we can only wait for the midterms and we can only do this and that and so on. Whether it is that the people like Lindsey Graham and what's the name of the speaker, Johnson, and those people have a higher level of accountability and responsibility. America and Americans have to bear the responsibility and the blame for the kind of president that they have elected not just once but twice. Other countries have suffered the fate and the consequences and the punishment and the, you know, whatever we want to call it, of having people as their leaders who did things like Nazi Germany did. They suffered horrific bombings and a whole lot of things that they suffered. And they were not even people who had access to the democracy and the judiciary, the courts and all of that Americans have at their disposal. One man can be so unstoppable that he can do the kind of things that are going on there. And I'm not calling for there to be a coup for them to overthrow him, but why not? It's happening in other places. Why not? But for you all to stand by because you want to preserve. You want to preserve the form. You want to preserve the semblance. You want to preserve, the appearance of your country as being so stable and so well ordered and so well governed and so well managed while all these things are happening. And so many things are being done to other countries. Venezuela, Cuba. A country just like that cannot have oil. It cannot do anything. It is brought absolutely to its knees and so on. Cuba has been in the crosshairs of the United States since the 1959 revolution. But throughout that time, not one U.S. president has ever, they've had blockade temporary, but it was over a missile crisis and this kind of thing about Russian missiles being too close to the USA and so on, and Russia saying, okay, you have in Turkey that are threatening us, take them out, whatever, they came to some deal. But not in a peacetime where Cuba has never militarily or whatever threatened you. All this talk about Cuba has played its part in stopping terrorism, has stopped terrorism. That a U.S. president is actually taking steps to starve Cuba into submission and talking about Cuba is next so that he will look to invade Cuba or bomb Cuba or whatever next. Nobody has ever thought about crossing that line. They've kept embargo in place. They've done this, designated them as state sponsors of terrorism. They've put travel restrictions, all that on them. But there's never been that direct military menace against Cuba. Iran has been in the crosshairs of America since the 1979 revolution that did away with the monarchy. The last Shah was overthrown and they became the Islamic Republic of Iran, and they've been ruled by theocratic rulers at the top, a supreme leader, a supreme ayatollah, and this and that, and the military, civilian structures. But nobody has ever thought to go and to directly attack them militarily. For some reason, the coexistence has been possible without direct military assault. This man has gone and done that. And look at the instability. Look at the upheaval in economies from so far away that is taking place. What else will he do? What else will he try? While Americans sit there and want to enjoy their nice hunky-dory life, and everybody is paying the price and the butcher's bill for an absolutely erratic, eccentric, crazy guy who is doing everything in the world. Americans, you see, the same way Germans and Italians and Japanese and all those people had to reckon with the consequences for out-of-control leaders, fascists, whatever we call them and so on, of Benito Mussolini, Adolf Hitler, Emperor Hirohito, who had to bear responsibility for it all. But the devastation and ruin that came upon their people, and all the great harm that was done to other people and so on, America, you have to reckon with that. And nothing about, it's Trump and we don't support Trump. You have too many ways and processes and institutions, to bring Donald Trump under control, if not to remove him outright, that you don't have to wait for. So you have greater capabilities. You can't have military that can only go. You have to snap the finger and you can go and do and damage a people and wreck a people and flatten any people at his word, at his command. And you all seem so completely paralyzed, so completely immobilized in doing anything about him. Yeah, we have to talk straight. America and Americans, you all have to take responsibility for this, and you all will pay for it. I'm not wishing bad on America, You can't do this kind of thing to people. You can't be so concerned about civilians, and you had what you call your ally Israel bombing and killing 80,000 people because 1,300, 1,500 of their people were killed and so on, that they could wantonly kill women, children, whatever they don't call, and they didn't just stop at Gaza. Settlers in the West Bank are now shooting Palestinian people on their own land that they have taken over and so on, basically because they can do it with impunity. Lebanon is being, absolutely ripped apart and torn apart and so on by Israel. Now they've jumped over and they've gone. Didn't we remember that some time ago Israel bombed one of the Gulf states and so on, or they call it Qatar, whatever? They actually went and they bombed, and Qatar is supposed to be the place, I think, where they have the headquarters of U.S. Central Command, because Qatar had agreed to host a meeting that would include Hamas leaders so that they could talk about how they could broker peace and an end to it. They went and they bombed that country, which is, what happened for that? Nothing. Did anybody fire missiles back at Israel and say, have some respect for America? America is hosted there in Qatar, and you come in and bomb there. They can do anything with impunity. But you go in and bomb those people. I don't know brief for the Iranians, I don't really know too much about them. I don't really understand. It's not a place I think I've done sufficient, reading on. What I told you on about the Iranian land bridge in World War II, and then Russia and Britain, invaded Iran because they needed a place for them to send arms, and other supplies to the Soviet Union, which was at breaking point against the Germans, and the Germans were wondering, how come we have thrown everything at them? But we still can't get them to capitulate. We still can't get them. It was then they realized that there is a backdoor supply route through Iran and up the Volga River, which was keeping the Russians in the fight. And that is why the Germans, through so many of their forces, redirected them to southern Russia, of which one of the cities there was Stalingrad, which was basically, had that river running through it. And at a critical point of a sharp bend, the Germans said, if we have to stop those supplies, if we have to pinch off that corridor. And in fact, the Russians were supplying the western part of the city from the eastern part across that river. And the Germans said, we have to take that. We have to take it so that the supplies that are coming from Caspian Sea and Iran and those things, we have to pinch it off at that point, at that sharp bend. That was the version of Strait of Hormuz that was there in 1941, And the Germans threw everything at that city. But the Russians were equally determined. They couldn't take it. History is repeating itself. We have to be very careful. I'm not predicting World War III, I'm just saying that, the lessons of history are being ignored by a man who never seems to pause to study any history, and maybe everybody's afraid to tell him about history. You think a commander of CENTCOM is going to say, Mr. President, this is going to be very difficult. I propose we don't do it. No. He and Hegseth, their minds are made up. They're experts in everything. They know everything. And they're going to do it their way. And it may end up disastrously for the United States, if not in a military defeat, but for a country that is already doesn't know where to turn to, with almost $40 trillion of debt. What do you think that war is going to do? But the idea now is no longer rare earths. If we can seize enough or corral and control enough of the world's supply, and we control it, we will be able to essentially manipulate the market and play with it in a manner that we will be in a better place to recoup our losses and the debts that we have. Real Issues, we take our final break, and when we come back, the telephone lines, I think, will be open for your calls.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real Issues, 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
wait is over. You've rested, and now it's time to put on those dancing shoes once again. This is the Sunday, April 5th. It's time to roll out and have a ball. Upstairs the Castries Market. We're gonna have a massive celebration as we party up inside to the best in country and western music. Doors open from 8 p.m. Admission $10. Your musical selectors for the evening: the Country Master, DJ Tallboy, DJ Dynamics, St. Lucia's #1 country and western DJ, DJ Tim Tom, and the entertainer, DJ Leroy. All powered by Entertainer Sounds. Prizes to be won and so much more. Come be part of the entertainment and vibe. This is the Sunday, April 5th. It's all going down upstairs the Castries Market. Be part of it.
Why are you suffering from aches, pains, and illnesses? When there's help for you. At Health Service Center, we offer a wide range of treatment that has been scientifically proven to help you with your aches, pains, and illnesses. Our ICT machine is one of the most effective devices in the health field. It has shown positive results in many health problems, such as back pains, shoulder pains, migraine headaches, pain in the knees and legs, poor circulation, arthritis, diabetic neuropathy, numbness in the feet, strokes and sports injuries. ICT, repairs, rebuild. The power to heal, the future of pain relief.
McDowell's Supplements, an effective way to ensure you and your loved ones are getting the daily recommended intake of essential vitamins, minerals, and other important nutrients necessary for optimal health. Naturally, we carry an array of health and wellness supplements. McDowell's Immune Booster enhances your body's defense to fight colds and flu, boosts your immune system, prevents viruses and other airborne diseases. McDowell's Colon Cleanser prevents constipation, helps in removing toxins from the colon, detoxifies the body, and regulates your bowel movements. McDowell's Prostate Health prevent the enlargement of the prostate, improve urinary flow, and reduce frequent urination, especially at night. Moringa oleifera capsules are rich in minerals like calcium, potassium, zinc, magnesium, iron, and copper, vitamins like beta-carotene of vitamin A, vitamin B such as folic acid, vitamin C, D, and E. McDowell's Potassium Complex, used for treating and preventing low potassium levels, high blood pressure, preventing stroke, and aid in weight loss. McDowell's Triple Magnesium relaxes the muscles, relieves cramps and helps to control high blood pressure, improves sleep, and can calm the nerves. Magnesium is very important for the normal functioning of cells, nerves, muscles, bones, and the heart. McDowell's Ginger Turmeric helps to relieve pain, decrease nausea and enhance the immune function to help protect against illness and infection. Ginger turmeric has powerful anti-inflammatory properties and improves your circulation. Don't hold health back. Let health strike back. McDowell's, the better way to start your health. Visit Health Service Center, John Compton Highway, call 453-6417. Let your wellness be our stress.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with big issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
Our telephone lines are open for your calls if you wish to have a little bit of interaction before we go into the long Easter holiday weekend. Our numbers, which are working, you can WhatsApp call us on 758-487-9849. That's 487-9849. And you can also call us on the landline, which is 4533-911. I've been assured that they're all working, that everything is in order. So we are going until 2 o'clock, and we are ready to take your calls as you're ready to make them. Stanislaus Maso, good afternoon to you. He says on the Real Issues WhatsApp chat group that some Lucians in America have to pay for it also. They voted for Trump. I don't know if anybody has to be directly punished them because they put an X on a piece of paper or cross on a piece of paper or they mark the ballot. What I'm saying is that America is supposed to have too many institutions, the judiciary, the courts, the Congress, which ought to have a containing and limiting power of checks and balances on the actions of one branch as opposed to the other, especially the executive, that the president, without any declaration of war, without the approval of Congress, which I think alone has the power to declare war and so on, to be doing those kinds of things and doing them repeatedly and telling me you all are not doing something about it, then you all are as culpable as anybody else would be. We have a call on the line. Real Issues.
Good afternoon, Shelton.
How are you doing?
I am good. Happy Easter to you.
Okay, happy Easter to you as well.
Hearing you for a few days.
Really?
Well, it's going to be the Easter weekend, the long Easter weekend.
Okay. I thought you said you hadn't been hearing me for a few days. Okay.
No, I said I will not be hearing you for a few days.
Okay.
So I'm sending my greetings early.
Right. Thanks a lot. Same to you.
Yeah, but Shelton, I wanted to go back to the discussion which you had regarding the U.S. administration. And I agree with everything that you say. In fact, I want to support what you're saying in terms of the United States making a decision to elect the president that they have. But I want to draw it closer to home. And to me, it borders on responsible voting. And what we ought to recognize when we go to the polls and we vote, it should not be on the basis of who we like, who we don't like, who we support for years. Say la mama me say moi, say la na say, that kind of thing. Because, sometimes we have a tendency to say, okay, I grew up in this party and I will die in this party. But the party is not static because the party is made up of people. And different people come with their own personalities, their own, different styles, strategies, and so on. And so, as time goes by, we have to make a clear distinction and determination on who is better to run the country. That's what it ought to be. So when we see, for example, in St. Lucia constituencies stuck in, voting in a particular way only because of a previous leader or parliamentary rep, it's very concerning. Because what is happening in the United States is not Trump's fault. It's the people who put him there. Trump did not put himself there.
And they put him there twice. Yeah, they put him there twice. That's the thing, at least in St. Lucia.
They put him there twice. They saw what they got in the beginning.
Yeah. At least
and they still come and put him back there.
At least the people of St. Lucia, we can say, they decided, let me give that guy a try. Let me give him a little chance.
Exactly.
And then twice they came back and said, we ain't taking any chance with you again,
Yes. Our St. Lucians were smarter.
That's right.
And I really want to applaud St. Lucian.
That's right. Big up the people of St. Lucia.
And I want to say to St. Lucian
yes,
that notwithstanding all the fluff and thing that we're hearing, all the gloom and doom that they want to present our country as, they really need to, recognize who has their best interest.
True.
And to me, in this case, we have seen that we have a proven leader, one in Honorable Philip J. Pierre.
That's right.
That we should continue to support.
That's right.
And don't put the blame of everything on him.
That's
Pani
right.
Glo se Pierre, Pani Di se Pierre. They need to stop that.
That's
and
right.
see who is a better leader, what we got during 2016 to 2021 versus what we have gotten from 2021 until now is unmatched.
Okay.
And so that is, to me, the lesson that I'm learning from the U.S. situation.
Thank you so very much. Thank you very much,
Have a wonderful weekend, Shelton. All the best to you and the MBC.
Yes, Senator Dr. Alison Jean, the leader of government business in the upper house of the Parliament of St. Lucia, our first caller. We have someone else reaching us now, I think, on the WhatsApp line. So let's say good afternoon. Welcome to the Real Issues.
Mr. Daniel, good afternoon, sir.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm fine, sir, and good afternoon to all your listeners.
Okay, on their behalf, I thank you.
Thank you very much, and it's my pleasure. Close your eyes for a minute.
Close my eyes. Okay, it's closed.
Imagine Stephen King sitting at the head of the table as opposition leader. Next to him is the Honorable Richard Frederick. Next to Honorable Richard Frederick is the member for Miku South. Next after that would be the member for Denry South. How many times do you think the member for Miku South would attend Parliament?
Well, if he had other people there, he probably will make a bigger effort. Yeah, he's a man, you know, when there's something that seems like there's a big thing going on, he likes to be associated what in his mind, you know, is really big stuff. So he likes to be part of it. But for him to really, you know, gather himself together for a heavy task, one that he has to do by himself or almost by himself, I don't think he shines very well in that regard. But that's just me.
No, but you're correct, you know.
Yeah.
The people and government of St. Lucia is spending over $250,000 a year on Alan Chastney as leader of the opposition. And you know we're not getting anything back for that money.
Yeah, boy, I tell you, it's
you
so
may
unfortunate.
ask me how I arrive at that number. If you take his salary
plus
multiplied by 12,
plus the CDP funds.
No, I'm not touching that part.
No, but if you're going to say how much you're spending on him, you have to say everything. His salary plus the CDP funds plus...
that will bring you up the ladder to almost $2 million.
Plus the vehicle, plus the security that they assign to him and so on. It's a lot of money, you know.
Thank you very much, sir. And I say no more. You get the drift. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you very much. You know, is that the WhatsApp line we had or is that the... Okay, that was a WhatsApp line. Okay, we're still taking your calls, folks. We have about 15 minutes to go until 2 o'clock where we have to wrap it up. So 487-9849, we know that it is working. We got a call on the landline as well, so both lines are humming and moving along. So we're getting another call. Real Issues, you're on the air. Go ahead. Hello? Okay, hold the WhatsApp line for us for a while and let's say the landline. Real Issues, you're on the air. Hello? Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, you're on the air. Go ahead.
I am, man.
Yes, you're on the air.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yes.
Shelton.
You need a couple seconds to spit out the aqua that's in your mouth already. The advanced aqua, the early aqua, the pre-aqua. Okay, all right.
Moi, suspect silence, moi, c'est peut-être problème avec ça. So, tell me just this, Anadia.
All right, okay.
You aptly described the Americans regarding Trump. One of the things I've always said, the reason in a certain era I wasn't studying what was happening in America is because I know Americans have laws to protect what is theirs. There are laws to go after what is not right. They can fix it. Unlike us, we will say, not me, I didn't vote that man, I didn't vote them people, that kind of thing. Whether or not we have the laws for that. But in America, you mean to tell me there is not one person, one organization who has seen it fit to go after the actions of Trump legally?
I tell you...
You mean to tell me there is absolutely nothing that can be done, or they choose to do nothing because they claim it possibly to be biblical prophecy?
Yeah.
My goodness. Let me move to what is my business, down in St. Lucia.
Yeah.
We could five people elected Alan Shasta to sit in Parliament to represent them. He refuses to do that.
Yeah.
And like the gentleman before me said, he receives a salary. Do you think there is any other public servant who would be receiving a salary monthly and all of the allowances of government and not showing up for work? Do you think they would be able to operate like Alan Chasney is doing?
I don't think
and
so.
And you have people saying that we should not speak about him.
Yeah.
We cannot not speak about him. We have to speak about him. We have to expose the crap he's doing. One thing I am praying and hoping for is that those who are smarter than me with legal backer and everything will finally decide one day to take it up and ensure an example is made. Look through the standing orders whatever you have, the Constitution, find a loophole to deal with Alan Chasney.
Yes.
Alan Chasney looking at us as black, stupid people. We don't know how to deal with him, so he's going to deal with us. And every time he comes to Parliament, come on. We had elections in December. You had a problem with the electoral process.
Yeah.
Right? 4 months later is when you're raising issue with it because you did not get your way in Parliament. No, man. We cannot continue to allow Chasney to think that he is Queen Elizabeth. He has to recognize she's dead.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He is certainly not King Charles. Okay?
Yes.
And he cannot rule over us because slavery has been abolished over 400 years. And it was also deemed what? Illegal or something. So let him start to understand. We need to make him understand that he has to show split for our money. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye. Have a nice weekend. Happy Easter as well. We have someone waiting. Thank you very much for your patience. Call on the WhatsApp line. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Shelton. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing okay. And you?
I'm there trying.
Okay.
I'm wishing you happy Easter.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll just have something in BC.
That sounds like a
Happy
sister.
Easter.
That sounds like a sister from down the west coast, right?
From South.
Oh, I'm south. Okay, all right. Okay.
Let me tell you why I call.
Mhm.
I want to have a talk with Miss Alison Jean. Can you have her to call me or give her my number?
Okay, give me your.
You have my number. That's Glenda.
Okay,
Shelton.
all right. Will do. Okay.
All right, just give her my number. I want to have a personal talk with her.
Okay. I'll send it to her right away.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's it. That's all from you? All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oops. All right. Do we have any other call on the line? Not yet. All right. So we're still open for your calls. And I'm so happy when Cornelia mentioned about praying. If there ever is a time that would be a good reminder, that would be an auspicious. God hears our prayers all the time. But let this weekend, this Easter weekend, remind us that the Bible tells us that we should pray for kings, for rulers, for those in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life, that they may make the right decisions and these sorts of things for us. Pray for Prime Minister Pierre and for his cabinet. Not politically because you want them to stay in power perpetually and so on, but because you recognize the great weight and load and burden and challenges that they face and they have to navigate us through, that they will do things, in what we can call a circumspect manner for the benefit of this country, its people, and of course, ultimately for the glory of God. We have a call on the line. You're on the air. Go ahead. Hello?
Good afternoon, Shelton. Carlton here.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon.
I know people keep saying that...
Dr. Carlton, can you just hold on a while for us? The WhatsApp is probably easier for you to hold on than for the person on the landline. Are you able to stay on the line,
sorry.
Carlton?
Yes.
Yeah, just stay on the line. Let me get this other caller. Real Issues, hello.
Yeah, Mr. Daniel. Sometimes I wonder what kind of democracy that America is practicing. Because after the Supreme Court ruled against Donald Trump, he called them lapdogs. He called them fools, and he said that that they are unpatriotic and anti-American. So, what America is practicing presently is a criminal dictatorship masquerading as a democracy. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks. Okay, Carlton, you're on the air right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, let me say what is happening in America is not only about Donald Trump and the people who voted for him. There is a concerted effort by a few billionaires to roll back progress so that they could become richer.
We know Elon Musk was at the forefront of that.
Not only Elon Musk, Harlan Crow, several. If you look at Project 2025, that was put together.
That's right.
By a billionaire coalition.
Good reference, yes.
And almost everything President Trump has done is lined up in Project 2025.
Doing their bidding.
Coincidence. Because if you notice, some of the executive orders he signed, Stephen Miller boasted that we do it and he signs it. Sometimes he doesn't know what he's signing.
Right. Netanyahu has also worked on him. I mean, those trips to Washington and to the White House were really frequent. I think these were the most frequent for an Israeli leader.
Let me ask you. Most of the billionaires in the U.S. are Jewish. Exactly. And that's all I'll say, okay?
Exactly.
So,
yes.
But let us talk about St. Lucia. I wonder if Alan Chasney really has any love for the people of St. Lucia. What I see is pure contempt. He lost the election. Instead of moving on, trying to, because I will tell you, I did my O-levels twice, Shelton. I messed around. I was into cricket. When I failed the first time, I didn't get enough to go to A-level. I didn't sit down and say, boy, them fellas, they know what they're doing. I knew what I had to do.
Right.
Here is this man coming back with the same playbook, talking about electoral reform, voter fraud. I mean, that is just, so it's not just the people of Miku. He has contempt for the people of St. Lucia.
Yeah.
He's refused to accept the results. How dare do the people of St. Lucia vote Philip J. Pierre over me? This is all. And then he's enabled by people like Timothy. Timothy Polio has pure contempt for the people of St. Lucia. He has what I call the ring the bell syndrome. Me prefer blah. And he had nothing. When President Trump first imposed his tariffs, first thing on Timothy, who is the best person to lead St. Lucia? He's trying to find, relevance for Alan Chasney.
Well,
Alan Chasney cannot save himself. Why are people trying to save Alan Chasney?
Yeah.
Instead of him focusing on his campaign, imagine in the first time in the history of St. Lucia, a political party did not have a manifesto. That is the UW. People don't realize that. He put out what I call a Chasfesto, where he was the only person on the front cover. And when it was criticized, it was withdrawn. Election day, the party had no manifesto. They were caught unprepared. He went all over the world telling people that the prime minister called election a snap election on him. I mean, the man has no respect for the people of St. Lucia. There is a budget debate. He's absent most of it, and then he wants to speak when he wants. And he's going to double down when we have the appropriations debate.
Yeah.
So it's not just the people of Miku. Alan Chasney has pure contempt for the people of St. Lucia. And my last point, who is Alan Chasney to talk about the prime minister is spending too much and he's worrying about debt? Alan was in power. The guy was in power. He ran the economy into the ground. This is the best 5 years we've had in our history in terms of the economic fundamentals. Bar none. Even when John Compton was there.
Yes.
Yet, this man is singing a different song.
Okay. Thank you very much, Carlton. Okay, happy Easter to you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, somebody sent a message. They said, in terms of all the things that Chastney is getting, they said plus petrol, plus traveling allowance, plus the price of his BS, plus the damage his lies cause. This Chastney bloke is definitely high maintenance. Could you imagine if this guy had a PhD? It would give a different definition to PhD. It would be permanent head damage. All right, I see somebody send me a message, and it's a CNN link, that Pam Bondi has been ousted as Attorney General. I can tell you this, I'm not supposed to hate people, especially to be so emotional and passionate about what's happening in America. But boy, I tell you, see this Pam Bondi, how and that's a young, so ma prend control of comment. Alors if I'm ma content tellement alors des chien si moi ouais chien ma content chien tout, you know, this Pam Bondi woman, you know, I feel she's a reason, she's a cause for a lot of everything that's wrong with Donald Trump and the Trump administration. But then there's so many of them, whether it's Marco Rubio, whether it's that other one that they just recently got rid of, Christine Noem, the Kash Patel. It seems like all of them, you know, it's people who have, you know, bad-minded people and so on. But then what else would Trump agree? Somebody said to Alison Jean, Miss Jean, I disagree. From 1997, that mold has been broken. People end voting on the basis of their parents. All right, so that's a little disagreement there about something. What else do I have? So many messages, but I think we have the time where we should be wrapping up. So thank you very much, everyone. Don't forget, I'm very serious about this one. This is Easter weekend, folks. Pray. You should be doing it every day, of course, but let you be reminded by the occasion of the season, of the weekend, of Holy Week and Easter and Good Friday to pray. Pray for the people, the young people of this country in particular, who seem to be veering off into a lot of things. And you know, speaking of the young people, I may have to stop mid-sentence. Alan Chastney, you ever heard a guy, this is the second term of school, Easter term and all of that, where we have a lot of sports events. You will hear Kenson, you will hear Sean Edward come to talk about some young person who won a race and they won, you know, the 100 meters and they're looking like they're the people to watch for the future in terms of athletics performance. You ever heard Alan Chastney come and talk about events in his constituency and the performance of a team that won the constituency cup and so on, and he's showing some good footballers, or even to come and put fire on the government that football in my constituency has a lot of potential, but you all are not fixing the field or doing something? Like, he has some kind of, you know, desire to see the young people in this constituency improve and excel and to talk and excel, and to say what he intends to do or would like to do or how he's using the constituency development funds to see to it. What you ever heard that kind of thing coming from the guy? That kind of vibe? Nothing like that ever comes from the guy, that he has some interest of the people in developing them. The people are just a means to an end. The people are just a stepping stone for him to get into the parliament where he can do the grandstanding. And what grandstanding? It's grand walking out every time that the guy does that. Like, he does not care about the people. But that's the real issues for today and for the week. Enjoy the Easter weekend. Happy Easter to you, everyone, including Easter Monday. And we'll see, God willing, on Tuesday. Bye for now.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with big issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
The wait is over. You've rested. And now it's time to put on those dancing shoes once again. This is the Sunday, April 5th. It's time to roll out and have a ball. Upstairs the Castries Market. We're gonna have a massive celebration as we party up inside to the best in country and western music. Doors open from 8 p.m. Admission $10. Your musical selectors for the evening: the Country Master, DJ Tallboy, DJ Dynamics, St. Lucia's #1 country and western DJ, DJ Tim Tom, and the entertainer DJ Leroy. All powered by Entertainer Sounds. Prizes to be won and so much more. Come be part of the entertainment and vibe. This is the Sunday, April 5th. It's all going down upstairs the Castries Markets. Be part of it.
Why are you suffering from aches, pains, and illnesses? When there's help for you. At Health Service Center, we offer a wide range of treatment that has been scientifically proven to help you with your aches, pains, and illnesses. Our ICT machine is one of the most effective devices in the health field. It has shown positive results in many health problems, such as back pains, shoulder pains, migraine headaches, pain in the knees and legs, poor circulation, arthritis, diabetic neuropathy, numbness in the feet, strokes and sports injuries. ICT, repairs, rebuild. The power to heal, the future of pain relief.
McDowell's Supplements, an effective way to ensure you and your loved ones are getting the daily recommended intake of essential vitamins, minerals, and other important nutrients necessary for optimal health. Naturally, we carry an array of health and wellness supplements. McDowell's Immune Booster enhances your body's defense to fight colds and flu, boosts your immune system, prevents viruses and other airborne diseases. McDowell's Colon Cleanser prevents constipation, helps in removing toxins from the colon, detoxifies the body, and regulates your bowel movements. McDowell's Prostate Health prevent the enlargement of the prostate, improve urinary flow, and reduce frequent urination, especially at night. Moringa oleifera capsules are rich in minerals like calcium, potassium, zinc, magnesium, iron, and copper, vitamins like beta-carotene of vitamin A, vitamin B such as folic acid, vitamin C, D, and E. McDowell's Potassium Complex, used for treating and preventing low potassium levels, high blood pressure, preventing stroke, and aid in weight loss. McDowell's Triple Magnesium relaxes the muscles, relieves cramps and helps to control high blood pressure, improves sleep, and can calm the nerves. Magnesium is very important for the normal function